Good afternoon, everyone. This is Bob Gums, and I'm bringing you the Concern Forum. I hope that everyone is enjoying a safe and healthy weekend so far. And let's look at what's going on. Some things are good, some things are bad. I think the good thing is that people are becoming more, I love using this word, woke. I know that drives conservatives and some so-called independents crazy. But let's get one thing straight. Woke, W-O-K-E. That word woke has been used for at least the last 60 years, 70 years, right? And it basically means get your tail in gear and start moving. For example, boy, you better get woke and get your clothes on and get out there and find a job, right? Which is something that you will hear when Guy is still living with mom and dad, or at least with mom, and he needs to go out there and start doing something productive. Mom uses the term woke to say, hey, it's time to wake up, do what you need to do. And basically, that's all the word means. Now, our Republican, right-wing, conservative friends, they have turned a simple word like woke into an entirely whole different, some kind of ideology. And it's sad. I think it's sad also that Democrats and progressives, we let these clowns get away with that. And we need to stop doing that. So you folks out there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, listen, woke does not mean anything negative against you, against your striving to be a comfortable member of the American middle class. All woke means is that you take recognition that, hey, there's something going on here that needs to be done better, basically. That's all woke is. It's not some kind of foreign plot or something. As a matter of fact, if you want to talk about foreign plots, I think you need to look at the Republican Party because these folks, remember now, these are the folks that were holding Putin up as some type of god, remember? Oh, well, Obama, President Obama, oh, well, that guy is going to destroy the country. After 4 years or after 8 years of him, there'll be nothing decent left in America, blah, 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 right? The military, they'll have them all wearing skirts, playing bagpipes, and instead of combat training, they'll be doing basket weaving and liberal jam sessions and what have you. Remember the crap that these guys were talking? As a matter of fact, some of them are still talking this nonsense. Tucker, for example, on that other network with the strange people, Tucker was talking about the feminization of men, the feminization of our military, and our military doesn't know how to kill anymore, and blah, blah, all of this nonsense, right? By the way, Tucker's never been in the military. And I don't want to hear this crap about maybe his dad was in, or he has a cousin or a sibling, or I'm talking about him, himself. Never served a day in the military, but he is so quick, like many of these right-wingers, to start talking about the military being too feminine. Well, I tell you quite frankly, Tucker, and the rest of you clowns in the right wing, I served in both the Army and the Navy. I served with men and women, Christians and Muslims and Jews and Buddhists. And you know something? Tucker, you could not hold a candle to any of the people that I served with. All right, in terms of patriotism, in terms of the aggressiveness that's needed to, accomplish your mission in the military. There's no way in hell I would want you serving on the ship next to me. I damn sure would not want you in my department or in my division. But yet you sit up there and you throw out, these lousy, rotten things. And as much as the military has done for this country in the last 30 years, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. That's why I say you or anyone like you, don't you ever dare come trying to wave a flag in my face, Buster, because you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And most intelligent people, when they don't know a subject, they keep their mouth shut or they do the research. In your case, you have done neither. And it's just so damn disgusting to hear you right-wingers get on Fox or some of those other nutty pro-Hitler stations and spill your garbage. And it's time that people really stand up. I don't understand. If I see too much breast, what is it, the family hour or something? After 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, the FCC will make a big hoopla and raise hell. But yet, for some reason, it seems okay for you to come on the air and spew all this racist, bigoted, misogynistic garbage that you've been doing for the last couple of years. And it's ridiculous. If I had my way, if I had the position where I could really make an influence, I would do all I could to get Fox off the air, quite frankly. Because you definitely violate the community standards here in New York. And my personal opinion, I believe that's what needs to be done. And moving on to other things, I see the unfortunate saga down there in good old Alabama. Remember the guy that broke out of jail and he took, apparently he took his, what was she, the security officer with him, Well, that's, unfortunately that had a sad ending, as most things involving law enforcement in Mississippi or Alabama usually wind up with a bad ending. They got him, right? But unfortunately, the lady, the security officer that either helped him escape or I don't think that she was his hostage. But in any event, she committed suicide. So that there ends another sad Alabama story. Now, patriotism, right? What do we mean when we talk about patriotism? What do we want? More to the specifics. This election coming up this year, and the one in 24. I've come to believe that these elections now, they're not about whether you like Biden or you like what he's done. Because number one, most folks, the majority of the American people, they like what Biden has done, right? As a matter of fact, the problem is that they want Joe to do more of it. And see, that's something that needs to be spoken about. And again, to be open and honest, right, and transparent, I am a registered Democrat. I'm quite proud of that. But I do believe that the Democrats need to get out there and really start telling people, hey, this is what we have done, right? This is what we are trying to do. This is what the Republicans and two very weird Democratic senators, in combination with the Republicans, have been stopping us from accomplishing, right? Jobs bills, things about health care, stuff that you, the person sitting at home at night on your around your kitchen table, the stuff that keeps you awake at night. This is what Democrats are trying to fix. This is what Democrats are trying to rebuild. When Joe talks about, rebuilding America, that's what he's talking about. And the Republicans, they basically come out and they tell you to your face, America, listen, we aren't going to pass a damn thing. We aren't going to compromise on anything. We don't want nothing. And basically, what they're trying to do, they are trying to do as much damage to the economy as they possibly can, so they can point the finger and say, see, you put the Democrats in there and look what happened. This got worse, or, nothing happened and blah, 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 right? And see, what Democrats and progressives need to do is say, yeah, you're damn right. We couldn't get this done. We couldn't get that done. Oh, and to people of color and the elderly, let me say that we are fighting for voting rights, which, number one, is a fight that I thought was done when I was, when I was a little kid. You remember? 64, 65, the Voting Rights Act, all that good stuff. Remember on TV, right, with the police clubbing peaceful demonstrators over the head? Remember John Lewis getting his butt kicked on that damn bridge down there? Also, you have to keep in mind that this was supposed to have been something that we as America accomplished. The fact that your color had nothing to do, your color or your religion had nothing to do with your right to vote. Now, here we are, 2020, was it 2022, right? And look at this. Look at this. I mean, I have to give the Republican Party credit. They have done something that nobody else in this country could do. They have actually learned how to do time travel. Yeah, H.G. Wells has nothing on the American Republican Party because Wells only wrote about time travel. These birds in the Republican Party, they've actually done it. They have actually taken this country backwards, right? They've done it, right? Back to the days of back alley abortions, back to the days of unwanted pregnancies. Ha ha, you're stuck with the package. Remember those days, ladies? Those of you who are old enough to remember how it used to be? Remember when you had a girlfriend that was being abused, especially you ladies, and I mean, let's face it, especially in the more rural areas of this country. And that's not to say that women were only abused in rural America. It just is that basically, you are more likely to see the women be condemned in rural America circa 1963 than you would in a more, how should I say, uh, open type area where you could maybe move to another part of the state or another part of the city, depending upon where you're at. But see, the Republicans have even taken that away from you. And see, the thing that really I find so bothersome about this whole abortion issue, the Republicans and the so-called evangelicals, they try to give the impression that, oh, well, this whole thing about abortion, it's just wrapped up in sleazy sex, yeah, and low moral character. And see, that's where they're coming from, right? They're not thinking about the 13, 14-year-old girl, or younger in many cases, that they have they have been harassed or, how should I say, sexually mistreated by an uncle or sometimes, unfortunately, a parent, okay? Or a gang rape. A girl walking down the street by herself. Next thing, she's being set upon by 3 or 4 different dudes, right? What the hell is she going to do? What is this gal going to do? And then she finds herself pregnant. I keep hearing this nonsense about who speaks for the unborn. Well, who speaks for this young woman, right? Who speaks for this woman that's been abused, that has been raped? And it happens a lot here in America, a lot. And I tell you, as a man, I think it's shocking and disgusting the way that women are treated in this country. Don't get me wrong, okay? American women are not angels, and neither are American men. However, when we're talking about laws and things that protect women, it's a shame how far behind America is with other parts of the developed. They like to talk so much about the West, about the Western world. It's shocking, and I tell you quite frankly, that's one of the reasons why I left the Roman Catholic Church, because I could not see myself being part of an organization that, the whole structure, the way the church is built, it's built on discrimination. If Joe can take Holy Communion and all the sacraments of the church, why can't Jane? And this is not, well, Christ wasn't, because Jesus was a man. Oh, look, please, that's absolute nonsense. All right, if that's what you want to use as a yardstick, that's childish, to be quite frank about it. Number one. Number two, guess what? Priests used to be able to get married, number one. And number two, you actually had, in the beginning of the church, you had women priests. Yeah, that is correct. That's why I believe that there is some validity to that. I'm thinking about the book and the movie about Mary Magdalene and Jesus not just having an affair, but actually being a couple. Because I heard that a long time ago. When I was in Catholic school, as a matter of fact, when I was in the 6th grade, I had a lay teacher that used to talk about that. And say, it's funny now that I think about it. I was one of those fortunate people. I went to, it didn't seem progressive at the time, but I went to a progressive Roman Catholic school. I had the opportunity to learn about American history, also to learn about the American history from the perspective of people of color. And in that regard, I'd have to say that it was a very good education because you learned basically what makes things tick, why things work the way they do, and how things, why they are the way they are now. See? And, it's just, I don't know, after that experience, and then, going to college, being in the military, it wasn't compatible with me. In other words, you are trying to have, somebody's basically trying to tell you stuff that you already know is bullshit. And so that's how come, when I mentioned earlier, when we first started talking about Roe versus Wade and abortion and all that, that's how come I felt that I had to be open and honest and say, well, yeah, I'm a former Roman Catholic. And these are some of the reasons. And as I mentioned also, the fact that for some reason, the Roman Catholic Church, well, churches in general, they seem to be pulled towards fascism. What's the first treaty? The first treaty, okay? You got a government that's just started, right? They're looking for, international recognition. Who do they get that recognition from first? Mussolini, for example, right? When he basically wanted to announce to the world, hey, I'm here. I'm a big, tough guy. I'm turning Italy into a big, tough country. We want respect. Who did he get it from? He got it from the Pope. He got it from the Roman Catholic Church. Same thing with Hitler, right? The first treaty that the Nazis in Germany made was with who? Again, the Pope and the Roman Catholic Church. Do you know that German Catholics were obligated to celebrate at Mass every year Adolf Hitler's birthday till the end of the war? Did you know that? Yeah. So that's why I always tell people I am a spiritual person. I'm trying to find my way, and I am not a religious person. If I wanted to, stay with an organization per se, I would have stayed in the Navy. Quite frankly, there were times when I wish I did. But that's a whole different story. And see, the need to be in an organization, to be in that type of structure, that should have should not have anything to do with a man trying to find his own, how should we say, search for redemption. That's why I say I consider myself to be a spiritual person. And I could not, I don't see that not just with the Roman Catholic Church, but with religion in general. Now, I do attend Unitarian services for a few reasons, because I like their general message, number one, and number two, Unitarians are one of those uh, religious groups that actually, the Quakers and the Methodists also, these are groups that actively fought against slavery in America. And that, that touches me, see? But again, that's my personal, that's my personal thing. And I think one of the dangers, especially here in America, is that there's too much talk, quite frankly, too much of a religious influence in what we do or try to do to keep this democracy going. And there are some things that I think we do need to take a look at the founders and what they had to say about these subjects. Slavery, that was always a sticky thing, right? Religion, the founders themselves, 95% of them, told you, listen, this is not a theocracy that we're building here in America. You are free to worship or not worship. Read what Ben Franklin and Thomas Paine and Thomas Jefferson had to say. As a matter of fact, Jefferson was the one that gave us the wall, the separation of church and state. That's a good thing. And we need to fight to keep it that way. Because, religion in America has been able to flourish because of the fact that up until recently, you didn't have government interference in religion. And see, here, especially these evangelicals, and, my question has always been, what the hell does your faith have to do with me? I don't care for your faith. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in your doctrine. Why should that have any role in legislation where you're going to have people like myself, you're going to have Muslims, you're going to have Buddhists, you're going to have straight up atheists, you're going to have Catholics, right? You're going to have all types of people. So why in the hell should your faith, or what you believe, that has no business in the writing of legislation that's going to affect everyone in the country? And see, that's the thing. We come back to this thing about Roe versus Wade and abortion. Because, see, once you start taking away rights, once you think that you have the right to take away rights or to take back rights, where's it going to end? Where's it going to stop? Where are you going to say, oh, well, we're going to take away or we're going to take back the right for a woman in the privacy of her conscience, her soul, her doctor? We're going to take away her right to do that. But we're not going to mess with that little thing in there about slavery, or that little thing there about the right to consume alcohol or smoke marijuana or this or that, right? And see, therein lies the danger. That's why I think that the greatest danger right now in terms of our political well-being, the greatest danger that we face is the Republican Party, quite frankly. And see, that's what people, men and women of goodwill, they have to put the word out that in this time period, these elections, they're not about politics. They are not about politics. They are about our freedom. Not just my freedom, but also your freedom. Again, I repeat, should that 14-year-old girl be forced to carry her uncle's child or her daddy's child or the child of those 3 or 4 dudes that gang raped her, right? Or what happens? Woman gets herself in the woman gets herself in a bad marriage. She has the type of a husband. He comes home, he wants some, right? She's not taking any birth control because he won't let her. She says, "I really don't think I should tonight." Next thing you know, whip back, boom, her jaw is smashed in. Because her husband felt that, yeah, well, when I want to have sex, I want to have sex. And if I find out that you've been taking some kind of birth control, there's going to be hell to pay. And yes, there are relationships like that. As a matter of fact, number one relationship like that in America would be too many. But unfortunately, and a lot of you ladies out there, you know this, or you've had friends in this type of situation, or even relatives, where if you don't give it up when he wants it, you're taking your life in your hands. And see, that's why I have always said I don't understand how any woman could be a member or vote for today's Republican Party. Well, I'm not talking about the parties circa 1960, 61. I'm not talking about the Republican Party I grew up with, when my dad was the district leader for the party in Harlem, in West Harlem. I'm not talking about that Republican Party. I'm not talking about the Republican Party of Romney Sr., right? I'm not talking about Jack Kemp and his Republican Party. I'm not talking about the original George Bush Sr., God rest his soul, before he, and then followed by his son, basically kind of, how should I say, got with these nuts that the Republican Party has taken in. See, that's another sorry thing that's happened, started happening in the 70s, in the late 70s especially. You started getting all these right-wing religious nuts. And yes, you can use religion and nuts in the same sentence, right? Any type of fanaticism behind any cause is dangerous. And that's what happened to the Republican Party. And see, this is what happens to a political party in a democracy where they have nothing, right? What the hell do they stand for? At one time, at least anti-communism, anti-Russian communism, anti-Chinese communism, that kind of served as a type of glue, right? But as they went into this through the 60s, going into the 70s, they had nothing. They had nothing else, right? Socially, they had nothing, or economically, they had nothing to offer the American people. The Republicans, you remember, I'm not trying to be funny. Remember Happy Days, right? With the Fonz and Richie. Okay, what did the pop do, right? Dad was what? Well, his lady was, for most intents and purposes, she was the housewife, right? He, I forgot the names, but the father, Richie's dad, his thing was, what was it, hardware store, if I'm not mistaken? That was the Republican Party in the upper Midwest, up north, right? And that's where the Republican Party was at. And remember, it was up there in the upper Midwest, New England, right? New Hampshire, Connecticut. They were the guy who ran had the small hardware store, right? Shop foreman on the loading dock, right? That sort of thing. But look at where the heart of the Republican Party is now. It's down south, right? The home of the social and racial right-wingers, the radicals, those who are opposed to equal rights for people of color, not just black people, but anybody that's different. See? That's where the Republican Party's head is at now. And see, that's why, as a little side thing here, Donald Trump, right? Donald Trump could never get elected dog catcher in New York State or New Jersey. As a matter of fact, if he goes to certain parts of Jersey, like Atlantic City, he'd be taking his life in his hands. The way he robbed those poor people and left the town broke. If I were Donald Trump, any of the Trumps, I'd stay the hell out of Jersey, to be honest about it, right? But that's real. He could never get elected to anything up here. No way in hell. But what does he do? He realizes that for him to become a Democrat or to run on a Democratic ticket, he had a better chance of going to the moon without a spacesuit, okay, than running on a Democratic ticket. So what does he do? He goes down south, basically, right? Goes down south. He goes to those parts of Pennsylvania, the Midwest, right? And who does he go after? Well, he'll tell you himself. I love those uneducated, those non-college. Well, he said, how did he say that? Oh, yeah, I love non-college people. I love non-college guys. And see, this is what really freaks me out about a certain group of Americans, especially American men, right? You have a guy running for office, right, who essentially he wants to command your country. And he's bragging to you about the fact that he likes people who are not educated, right? He likes people who are not well informed. So, naive me. I'm thinking, why in the hell would I put my country's future in the hands of a guy that doesn't like people who are intelligent, who are educated, who knows what the hell's going on? Shouldn't that be a tip? Isn't somebody trying to tell you something? Hey, he only likes you if you're stupid or if you're uneducated. Why would you? That's what I don't understand. Why would you risk your country's future, or like if he wanted to run for the Senate, right? Why would you risk the future of your state or your country in the hands of a guy that doesn't like educated people? I don't, I don't know. Maybe I spent too much time in the military and being overseas and what have you. But to me, everything that Trump has done, it should be obvious to people. He took the Republican Party, which that's one thing I'll give him credit for. Staunch anti-communist, right? No matter what they did here at home, they at least gave the impression that they were about liberty and freedom and all that other good stuff. Now, the Republican Party, and I know that this is causing a lot of the Republicans who've been with the party for a while, I know that this is causing them some problems. Why in the hell does it seem that this guy, he's in love with 3 or 4 of the greatest tyrants in the 21st century? Putin, the guy in North Korea, the guy in China, and the guy in, they're nothing, a little small tin-pot dictator, but that guy in Hungary. Why in the hell would the Republican Party, just for the sake of votes? This shows you that the Republican Party, for the most part, people like McConnell and some of those other creeps, they would rather ally themselves with tyranny, with hate, with racism. They would rather ally themselves with people who represent those negative values than to, well, listen, maybe our policies for the last 20 years, maybe they're not really hitting on the right key or something. Because these guys cannot win a national election to save their life. I don't think if we didn't have an electoral college, I don't think you'd ever see a Republican in office, in national office. And that's not a bad thing. That would be the will of the American people. The only ones who steal elections these last 30, 40 years have been them, the Republican Party. You look at what's going on right now. Sneaky voting, right? Messing with the ballots and all that good stuff. They've been Republicans. The one instance where you had a black person or a Democrat caught up in that mess. Apparently she had a felony conviction. I think now that's being appealed. But she asked the Board of Elections, where was it at? In Mississippi or in Texas? One of those red states. And they said, yeah, you're okay, you can vote. And she voted. And they tried to lock her up for what, 20, 30, some crap like that. And they backed off, I believe, thank God. But that just goes to show you the mentality here. In Pennsylvania, on their court, 10 Republicans, 5 Democrats. Apparently, the chief judge hired somebody based on qualifications. The Republicans got mad at him. a Republican judge gave him hell. As a fellow Republican, he gave the judge hell because he said, you're not paying any attention to this guy's party. Well, wait a minute. I thought it was supposed to be about who's qualified, which perhaps is another reason why, if you want crazy-ass decisions, go to the Republican. But let me back up on that a little bit, because you have, when this thing, for the election of 20, right? You had Republican judges, you had Democratic judges, you had independent judges, you had judges appointed by the Bushes, you had judges appointed by Obama, by Clinton. No big secret. And all of them said the same thing. Trump was full of it. You know, he's the only guy. He cried about the election in 2016 before we even had the damn election. And see, this is what the American people, you need to wake up and realize. If you don't want me to say woke, fine. Just make sure that you start using your own God-given intelligence, for crying out loud. I mean, we are at the point now where people are actually trying to take away our democracy, and that should not be allowed. Joe Biden should already have federal marshals in the election, board of elections of each one of these states, because they raised so much hell. Their leadership encouraged so many people to try and attack our nation's capital, that to show, to bring credibility back to our electoral process, we need to have the federal marshals there, and and representatives from each party, from Republican and Democrat and Independent, to have oversight over how this is being done. And any state that doesn't want to cooperate, boom, you negate their ballot. Because that's a pure case of, if you're not doing anything wrong, what are you trying to hide? Throw the process wide open, period. End of story. Because if it takes us having a damn civil war to do what is right, to do what is honest and fair, then so be it. It's just that simple. But we cannot stand by and let these clowns steal the damn election. Now, ladies, we always tell people, don't be single issue voters. But this is one of those rare cases where, yeah, you need to be a single issue voter, because on this one issue, so many other issues are attached to it. And see, as I said before, if you take away a right such as abortion, which was already in the Constitution, where does it stop? Well, interracial marriage? I'm laughing because when I thought about interracial marriage, I thought about Clarence Thomas. What are they going to do? Because, in case you folks don't know, Clarence Thomas is married to a white lady, right? Which is, that's wonderful. That's fine. Hey, anybody that's fortunate enough to find someone that wants to share their life with them, go for it. But I'm just saying, Clarence, what are you going to do when your friends are saying, yeah, and where was that senator from that made that very ignorant crack? Nebraska or someplace, as if there was something very bad about interracial marriage. Well, I'm just curious. What is this guy going to do? He's like, well, Clarence, we're gonna do a special filibuster for Clarence Thomas. I can't. I'm sorry, but it's just it's so damned ironic. Now, and that's another point. Clarence Thomas is talking about respect for the court and this kind of nonsense. How in the hell can he say that with a straight face? This is the guy whose wife, basically, she's one of the people that tried to overthrow our government. Because that's what January 6th was, folks. You know, you try to stop the counting of ballots. That, my friends, is trying to overthrow the government. You are trying to stop the normal process of government here in the United States. Now, I'm trying to find somebody to tell me how in the hell could Clarence Thomas not excuse himself from any case, anything having to do with the election. For example, court cases coming up, right, involving, I don't know, Trump's chief of staff, for example, yeah. How can Clarence Thomas sit on that? How can he be an independent juror on a case such as that? Because his wife is connected, joined at the hip with these upper-level people that basically tried, as I say again, to overthrow our government. It's just like if a case came up, right? Clarence Thomas has to sit in judgment, and his son was on trial for, I don't know, robbing a liquor store or something of that nature. He would have to recuse himself. And anybody who knows anything about the law knows that. You don't even have to be a law student to figure that one out. Yet this guy sits up there on the court refusing to, basically back off. Listen, it's not the fault of the Democratic Party, not the fault of progressives or any left-wing cabal that has put Clarence Thomas in danger of losing his seat. That's between him and his wife. They did that. They did that to themselves. But this man's wife is up there calling the president's chief of staff. I don't have the president's chief of staff, and he's a Democrat. I don't have his number. She does, which means she has access. See, this is where I get TO'd with my party, with the Democrats. Because in the first place, they should have been calling for Clarence Thomas's head months ago. Yes, months ago. I don't know what the hell, this is what hurts us. If the Democrats want to know, those in the upper echelons of this party, if they want to know what hurts them, that's what hurts them, believe it or not, on the street, because it makes them look weak. It makes them look afraid. And people don't like that. Now, I don't believe that there's a stampede away from the Democratic Party on the part, especially of blacks and Hispanics. But I will tell you that blacks and Hispanics, especially the men, they definitely would feel more comfortable with a party that stood up and conducted themselves like they were fighters for freedom. And if I had the chance to speak to Pelosi face to face, That's what I would tell her. Because if you're not going to stand up and fight for me, what the hell's the sense of me even going to vote? That's one of the things that is hurting this country. It is killing our democracy. Everybody's worrying about, oh, well, our democracy is because of Trump, our democracy is in such bad shape and blah. Well, guess what? Our democracy is in bad shape, but that's because of what we are not doing as a country. That's the problem, not Donald Trump. All Donald Trump is doing is he found an issue. He found a bad situation, and he figured out a way to make it worse. That's the only thing that Donald Trump has done. And I see that my alarm is going off, and we are rapidly running out of time. Well, listen, folks. Take care of yourselves. Remember to get involved. If you're not involved now, get involved. And I can't stress this enough. You need to know what the hell is going on, right? You need to pay attention. Because see, if you don't vote, if you don't get involved, if you don't encourage your friends and neighbors and relatives to get active and to get involved, you're hurting me, and most importantly, you're hurting yourself. Think about that. The next time you're worried about your son, your 19-year-old son, not being home and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and he's got the car. And I will show you a scene. It was in Virginia of a young second lieutenant in the United States Army who was harassed, who had stuff sprayed in his face, and who's lucky he didn't get his bloody head blown off by a police officer in the state of Virginia. And believe me, if you don't go and take advantage, if you don't educate yourself to what's going on and to know who to vote for, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if bad situations like that continue to happen. Because that's just the way it is. You have to, this country, politics in this country, it's not a game. It's a game, but it's a game with serious consequences. And you have to really know what's happening. And if you're not paying attention, you won't know. So, my friends, you have a great afternoon. Continue to have a great weekend, and we will see you next weekend. Same time, same place.